Hi, everyone. Welcome to our first session of the World Affairs Seminar. Thanks for joining us. We're going to take a few minutes just to get everything set up. We'll go ahead and get started in a little over 6 minutes. All right, Dr. Ottman, I just made you a co-host.
Awesome.
So
Thank
let me
you.
know, you're welcome. Let me know what you need to get set up.
So can you put everyone into their teams? And how many teams are there?
Yeah, we have 11 assigned small groups.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, I can't guarantee that they're not going to be able to make it into their assigned small group unless they've signed in with their email address that I have on file. So we're
Okay.
going to cross our fingers and hope that everybody gets into the right room and that
Sounds good.
technology is on our side. So
So all of you make sure you signed in with your assigned email address. Sorry, just checking here.
all right, welcome everybody. We've got a few minutes before we'll get started, but I'd just like to welcome everybody to our first session with the World Affairs Seminar. This is our introductory workshop with Dr. Kelly Ottman. We'll go ahead and get started in a little over 2 or 3 minutes. So thanks for joining us. Kelly, I'm doing a little bit of troubleshooting yet. I'm not at this moment for this session going to be able to get everybody into they're assigned small groups, but we will be able to do breakout rooms of any size throughout the presentation, and the breakout rooms that they're put into the first time will stick as we go into them and come out of them for presentation.
Sounds good. Okay, that sounds great. We'll make it work because you guys are going to go into your breakout rooms after this, my understanding.
Correct.
Great.
Hello, Stuart. Can you hear me?
Yes, Depend, I can.
Hi, Depen.
So is everyone ready? So, or still are we waiting for someone else to join in?
We're going to wait maybe one more minute just to make sure everybody gets in the room. We're at about 112 participants, which is a really exciting start.
Okay, that's good.
We'll wait just 1 or 2 more minutes.
If you guys scroll through the screens, you can see all the pictures. So please put your pictures up. It's great. It's kind of fun to see all of the faces joining. And again, if you can, that's awesome.
All right, it is 10:01 Central Time or Chicago time, so I think we will go ahead and get started. Let me turn on my video so that you can see me as well. First of all, welcome everybody to our first session of the World Affairs Seminar. If you're on this call, which you are, you've successfully made it into the first of many Zoom sessions that we'll have throughout the course of our virtual 2020 World Affairs Seminar. We'll go ahead and get started in just a few minutes with Dr. Kelly Ottman, who is going to be doing an introductory workshop with us all today. I'll introduce myself first. My name is Stuart Schmidt. You've probably been receiving emails from me in the last couple of days. I'm the program director with the World Affairs Seminar, and I'd just like to welcome you. We'll do a more formal welcome during our opening ceremonies and first official keynote later on today. That'll be at 1 o'clock p.m. Central Time, where you'll receive more information and a formal welcome from all of our staff. But we'll go ahead without further ado and turn it over to get this session started. To introduce Dr. Ottman, I'm going to turn it over to my brother Depen, who is across the globe from me right now, tuning in from Nepal. He is one of our facilitators for the week, and he's going to provide an introduction for Dr. Ottman. Go ahead, Depen.
Okay, thank you so much, Stuart, for letting me do this. Okay, my name is Dipendra Sharma, and I'm tuning in from Nepal. I'm engineer by profession. I'm mechanical engineer, and I'm currently working for Inventarium Science, Lisbon, Portugal. Okay, so I welcome everyone to this virtual World Affairs Seminar 2020. First time in the history we are going virtual this time, because you know the situation of the world right now. It's very rough time. So World Affairs Seminar, they managed to do it. It's great. I salute them personally. And yeah, so today's keynote speaker, I'm really excited to introduce her. She is a business coach, business leader since last 25 years. And currently she is a professor at Milwaukee School of Engineering, MSOE, on the Department of Business School called Radar School of Business. Since last 25 years, she is doing a Christmas Eve program for homeless, like helping the homeless, feeding them, and like feeling their emotions. So I think this program actually resonates with Dr. Kelly, because this time we have a topic called hunger in the world of plenty, and I know she has that emotion of like like how the hungry people they are suffering. So without further ado, let's give a big round of applause to Dr. Kelly. Even if it's a virtual, let's give a big round of applause. Everyone.
Thank you. And did I hear that you're going to come to our university? Did I
Yes,
hear you?
I've been accepted. Yes. I've been accepted to Radar School of Business, and still I haven't got the visa. Like
I
still
know.
the consular section of US Embassy it's closed due to this pandemic. But I hope I'll be able to attend to MSOE.
Otherwise, we'll do it like this, virtual. So welcome. I am so honored to be with you for your first session. And I have to say, I was in a session this morning that's a virtual conference that's going on for 3 days. So I kind of understand what it's like, and hopefully this will be more active than the one that I was in, because the one I was in, you didn't do anything, you just sat there like this. So I'm hoping this will be more active, and you'll get, you'll learn about yourself, you'll learn about each other. Your program, first of all, I commend you for taking time, because I know you could be outside doing something fun. You could be hanging out with your friends, but you're gonna meet new friends. My daughter was a part of this last year. She's a graduating senior, and last year she attended this, and I can tell you she made friends that she continues to associate with. She made friends that we went and visited last summer in California. We live in Milwaukee. This week, she is going to connect with a friend, drive halfway across the state. They're driving halfway across the state, and they're meeting socially distant in a park to hang out, because they met through the World Seminar. So I hope that you take the opportunity to get to know people. You're going to do it virtually, but actually I think sometimes we can do that just as well, sometimes even better to do it virtually. So I hope you take that opportunity to reach out and then stay connected. So today we're going to learn about each other, learn about the group as a whole, and then we're going to do that through a diversity wheel, and then we're going to connect that to food, because the whole program is about food and hunger, but we're going to connect it to who are you through the lens of what you eat, how you eat it, what you like, what you don't like, and why. And that will hopefully frame what you're going to experience the rest of the week. So I'm going to start out with a slide. Oh, the other thing, I just need to make sure that you have not only your computer, you all have like a smartphone or something else that you can use. So grab that if you need to go grab that, because you're going to do some polling that we're going to use your smartphone, that you just need the web. If not, you can still do it through the computer, but it might be easier so you can see the computer and still use this, okay? You can also use the chat, and Stuart, and actually Devin, if you can help monitor that for me, that would be great. Use the chat as we go along also. So we have 159 participants. That is absolutely phenomenal. And we're going to learn something about who we are in just a moment. So let me start. All right, so we're gonna talk about dimensions of diversity and food. So when we think about it, who are we? Who am I? Who are you? This is actually a model from Johns Hopkins. And if you listen to stuff about COVID, Johns Hopkins is oftentimes, in the US at least, and I think in the world, they're the go-to place as far as some of that COVID data. And so they're world renowned, and they really have a commitment to diversity and inclusion and understanding that. So I'm using their model to help us understand who we are. And because this is a global conference, looking at this from all these different perspectives can help us really learn from each other, because you're going to be learning from a lot of people through these sessions, but I think the place you're going to learn the most is from each other. What does this mean? What do you think about all this? Where are you going to be challenged to think differently? So this wheel is the inside wheel. We often talk about that those are the things that you're given. That are oftentimes the things that people see. And so when they see you, when you turned on the screen and you saw me, you started to identify who I was. And you had an immediate reaction, like within seconds, of who this person was. She's a white woman, she's older, and you heard that I'm from the US, okay? So you have an image, and that sets off what you think. And some values about what you think. The outside wheel are the things that you might not know about me, unless I tell you, unless you see it someplace. But for the most part, you don't know, except for appearance. That one's an interesting one because and I get judged by the fact that I'm blonde, okay? And so people sometimes are like, yeah, those blonde jokes. So you know something about, you don't know anything about me, but you have a perception because I'm blonde, okay? But the other things you might not necessarily know much about. And so what does that mean? So let me tell you a little bit about who I am. So you already heard a little bit, and then I'll share a little bit more, and then we're going to have all of us share, and then we're going to go into our small groups and share more specifically. So I am a white woman, and I was born in the US. I was actually born on a military base that was in the northern part of Wisconsin, but I've lived most of my life in Wisconsin, which is Midwest United States. And if you're not from the United States, I always say I'm closest to Chicago, north of Chicago. And I grew up in a lower middle class family. In fact, here's my family. This is my biologic family. And so my mom, she's actually in a nursing home right now, which is really hard with COVID because I can't see her. And my dad, and I have 2 siblings, and these are my kids. I have a daughter and a son, both of which are either going to MSOE or will go there. And this is my son's significant other of 12 years. And her ethnic background is she's from Mexico. And then my undergrad was working with individuals with disabilities. I was a therapist. And then I went and learned about healthcare, and I worked in healthcare as an administrator for a long time. And then I got involved with higher education, and I do consulting. I do a lot of global things. And so I helped build libraries for the last 12 years in China. And whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. There we go. And I take students to China. And so I love doing service work around the globe. And this is a team that I actually did some service work in China, but they're a corporate team. So I also work with corporations about learning about diversity. And we learn about it from all different perspectives. Let's see, I'm a professor as well as I'm a consultant, and I wish, even though I travel around the world, I wish I could speak another language. I can't. I just am not really good at that, so I speak English. I grew up in a Christian background, but I've also studied because I've worked around the world, and I've spent time in a Buddhist monastery, a Zen center, things of that nature. So those are some of the things that you know about me. What we're going to do is we're going to learn a little bit about each other to start this, and then we're going to take that and we're going to look at what does that mean when it relates to food. So let's see if I can do this. There we go. Can you all type in this URL? Once you type it in, please. Oh, I should have put an over. Gosh, let's see if I can fix that. I don't think I can. So I'm sorry, some of you are over because you're also counselors. My apologies on this one. We'll start to see it populate. Clearly, 17 is the average here. The most popular, not average, the most popular. All right, so we have, oh, we're still working here. Yay. And I see some of you are putting it in the chat too. So if you're not able to use this, we can use the chat, but if you can use this, thanks so much. Okay, so we have about 130 who have shared. And so for the most part, we have more people who are 17, some who are 18, and a mix there. And I apologize for those people who are over that age. Let's go on, and I'm going to switch these, and then there we go. This one's going to populate differently. And so if you speak multiple languages, put them all in and just type them in. And this is just going to keep changing as we see languages shared. Awesome. Wow. That is amazing. I don't even know, like I can't count how many that is, but that says just what a global community this is. And with the language comes the culture, and with the culture also comes the food. And what does it mean? And what's your relationship to food? And then I love that some of you also put some other things in there, like sarcasm is my language that I speak. So that says something about our personality. We also have just an array of spoken languages there. And I also love that we have American Sign Language. We see Spanish and English tend to be the more dominant languages that we have. And but I think that this says something about what you can all learn from each other just by the language. And many of you, I expect, speak multiple languages. And I love how it keeps changing. Okay, so now we're gonna go on one more. This will just keep changing. I will make this available to the group so you can see that. Okay, ready? Okay, let's just do a demographic. This is from that center. Where do you fall? So we have more females than males, and that's oftentimes what we see, but I'm so glad that we have so many that are joining us here, that we have a mix. Oops, we're still getting some more data here. Great, so that tells us a little bit about the perspectives that we bring, and we'll talk a little bit about that also when we look at food. And what does that mean? Let's go on. Okay, so how do you identify? What's your race? What's your ethnicity? We talked about language, but what's your race and ethnicity? What do you identify with? And these again are from that center wheel. We have some more in the chat also, but let's just keep this. Wow, it keeps changing and there's so many, which just says again, we're a global community coming together to learn. And many of us have multiple races and ethnicities that we identify with. So our number's going to be more than necessarily one per person, because we're complex and our histories are complex. It's awesome. What a great global community. Let's go on. So we had 200 red people. Ooh, wow, it still's moving. Okay. Next one. Let's see if I can do that. Where do you live? Places that we all live. So you can put country, you can put state, city, whatever you think we could, that people will know where you're at. Again, you can continue to add to that. Okay, I saw somebody say Sheboygan. I grew up in Sheboygan. So whoever said Sheboygan, hometown. For those of you who don't know, it's a small city on Lake Michigan, north of Milwaukee. I love that you put earth, somebody. That was awesome. My house. How we define this is important. Again, this really shows all of the places that this is a global community that's going to be learning together. Okay, we're going to actually go into taking this and then looking at this from the perspective of food. So now we know a little bit about each other. We come from so many different places. We live in so many places. You are all Zooming in from these places, and then some of you are in your rooms, in your bedrooms, in your houses. Maybe some people are outside, but those are all the places that we're joining this learning community. Let's see, oops. Just as a, sorry, hang on. Just to recapture, so not what I want. These again were all of our ethnicities. Again, that's a global community that helps define us, how we see ourselves, the languages, and our ages. So that's a little bit about who we are collectively. What I'd like to do is now switch this and talk a little bit about food. Oops, let's see here. Sorry, I think I actually am one step ahead of myself here. So what I'd like to do is take a moment to have you talk with each other. Stuart, are we ready to put people into teams?
We sure are. How many would you
Awesome.
like in a team?
Can we do maybe 6 to 8? How many do you think? Is that good? That way people can talk. So more like that 6.
Do 6 to 7. How is that?
Perfect.
All right, we'll go ahead and
in your small groups, and you're going to stay in these small groups at least for this next hour. We're going to use them for a couple times. What I'd like you to do is, and you might want to screenshot this so that you can see this. So screenshot the wheel. And what I'd like you to do is pick 3 of these. And in your small group, share something about yourself using this. Share something that people maybe see, and then some things that people don't see. And what you're comfortable sharing that may be helpful for people to know. And then we're going to continue with this group, and we're going to use this to talk about who we are in relationship to food after that. So is everybody clear? You need to look at this, go into your groups, and then talk about at least 3 different dimensions of this. And each one of you can pick your own, okay? And say something about that. Okay, Stuart, you want to send us off?
yes, so in a minute or in a couple of seconds, you'll see an invitation to join the breakout room within this Zoom meeting. Go ahead and join that. And then we'll probably pop in a few minutes and invite you to join us. It'll give you a 60-second warning when we want you back. So,
and I'm thinking that we're going to do this for about 10 to 15 minutes. So make sure you kind of pace yourself with that. So everybody gets about 2 minutes, okay? And ask questions of each other. Make sure to ask questions. Hit the join.
Kelly, so as co-host, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, so as co-host, you should be able to pop in and out of these rooms if you want.
It only lets me join, it says. So it's giving me breakout room 14.
Hmm.
I know,
Hold on.
usually, let me stop sharing here. Maybe that will help me. Yeah, it just says that I'm assigned, Stuart.
Okay.
Um,
Well, I can move you to any room you want if you wanted to pop into a few.
Okay, sounds good. And Nancy and Paul, hello. You must be sponsors of the program. Can't hear you. Oh, no, I can't. You're on mute. Can you unmute them? Stuart? There we go. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, I'm the secretary for the board of directors.
Wonderful. Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Paul.
Hi, how are you? No, I'm just trying to see what my team are up to.
Wonderful, wonderful.
I can only
So,
see three of them. I think one must be hidden behind the black screen, I think,
okay,
Yeah, I'm looking for Katie, but the rest are there.
sounds good.
Now, I'll leave you to it. It's just nice to know what you're doing, and I'll pop in and out if you don't mind.
I would love that. I appreciate it. Please join in.
Now, I've sat down listening to the Rotary Convention half the day, so if I sit here all day, nothing will get done.
Well, please join in the next little bit.
Hi, Stuart,
Okay.
how are you?
I'm
Good.
well, thank you, Paul.
Good to see your face. Okay, then.
Thank
Talk to
you.
you later. Yeah.
So, Stuart, I can join this 14 and then I'll come back and just see how they're doing. Can you tell, or can you want to just pop in between and just see how they're doing?
Into 14?
Well, I can go to 14, but if you want to just pop into any of them just to
Sure.
see if it's going okay, and then we can kind of see how fast they're getting through this.
Okay, I'll probably pop back out by 10:33. Hi, everyone. How's the conversation going so far? Quiet, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Have you all had the chance to introduce yourselves?
We're just getting started, I believe. You know, just kind of
Yeah.
new environment, you could say. So
Yeah,
just gotta get used to it.
definitely. So what were some of the elements on the wheel that Dr. Ottman had selected or had presented? What are some elements about ourselves that we can share?
She spoke about what work experience she had and her previous occupations and jobs. So yeah, she went through that. She just kind of spoke a little bit about everything, really.
Okay, so how about start with maybe your occupation? I know many of you are students. Is that right?
Yeah.
So that's a good place to start. How many of you have jobs outside of being a student?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Supposed to be getting one, but I was supposed to be working this summer, but something came along, as you can see, as we are stuck in our homes now. So that's that. So then can't work for now. It's awesome.
Okay, so what's something else that we can share about ourselves? There's plenty of things on that wheel that that we all can share just to get to know each other a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and pop into another room, but hopefully you can continue the conversation from here. Sounds good?
Yeah, great.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Look, glad you're all joining in this week. Kelly, are you there? I think you're muted, Kelly.
All right, great. So I popped in, that group was going well. I don't know if you can pop into any others and just kind of see.
The group that I popped into was a little quiet, but I see people are starting to join us back. I kind of got them started.
Okay.
Do we each want to pop into one more?
Yeah, can you put me into another different one?
Yes. Which one did you stop into?
I went
14?
into 14. How many groups are there, Stuart?
There's 25 that we created today.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to put you into 23.
Okay.
And I'll pop into one and then we'll come back in maybe a minute. or
Okay.
two.
The other one, definitely they needed more time.
Okay.
So maybe we need to, can you actually, Stuart, send out a thing saying, make sure to ask questions of each other and learn about each other? Because I think that will help prompt it. Because I think you can send a massive
Yep.
text to everyone.
All right.
Thank you. That's awesome. Hey, everyone. Were you guys in your groups or did you come back? I don't know. Okay. I'll see you, Stu.
Hey, Stuart.
Hi, everybody. Just popping in to see how conversation is going.
It's going a little bit.
We all had the opportunity to share at least one thing about ourselves.
Yep.
Good. What kinds of things have we learned about each other?
Names, age, and where they're from.
Okay. Have you talked about occupations or interests at all?
Erin did.
Okay, what about everybody else? We probably know that everybody's a student, right?
Yeah.
Okay, do people have maybe jobs that they're working outside of being a student? Or have you worked jobs outside of the pandemic?
I'm doing some volunteering services.
That's good. Volunteering is a very good alternative to working, especially when you're in high school and building a network. What about others? Nobody quite yet. I know it's a new environment that you're being tossed into at the start of the seminar, so hopefully this will get a little bit more normal for you. But I'm going to pop into another group and we'll see you back in the main room in a few minutes.
All right.
Thank you. It was kind of quiet, but then they were asking questions.
Good.
And yours?
They were kind of quiet, but they had had a little bit of a conversation. So I think we're probably ready to regroup and move on to the next one if you're ready.
Yeah, do you want to give them a 60-second? Is that what happens?
Yep. Everybody
Okay.
should start coming back to the main room now.
Yo, what's popping?
So as some of you come back before I hand it back over to Dr. Ottman, some of you might have experienced some awkward silences. That's probably because talking about yourself to new people is challenging. This is a new environment for everybody to be in, but I really encourage you to step out of your comfort zone this week and do the most that you can to learn about others, share your own stories, share your backgrounds, because that's really, I think, the most valuable part to this week. So hopefully you have the opportunity to learn about yourselves, and I'll turn it back over to Dr. Ottman.
Great, thank you. And I really support what Stuart shared. This is a new place, a new way to learn, and everybody's new and new to this. So I just really appreciate you kind of taking that risk to step out of your comfort zone. I'm doing the same, because to do this, I have to say, with 200 people, with all these little boxes, this is not the normal way that I facilitate a session. And so usually I have, when I teach, on the back of my wall on a poster, I say, let's try to have fun, let's be flexible, and please forgive, because I saw somebody got kicked out of their breakout room. There's definitely going to be glitches. So hopefully you can navigate through all of that. Let's now look at a little bit more of diversity and food. Let's try again. Why is this not letting me? All right, there we go. Sorry about that. So when we think about food, and you're going to be talking about food and hunger throughout the next couple days, in some ways, food helps identify us, and we identify with group. And the food we eat helps to be part of our group identification of what we like, where it links to where we live, where we grew up, how we grew up. And so when we look at this, we can see that what you eat is really based on some social context. And the food that you prepare, whether you prepared or it's prepared for you and you purchase it, and the decisions about when, how much you eat is a part of who you are. And just the pure act of consuming food is a part of your locus of identity, conformity, and resistance. So like, I don't eat that. That might be part of your resistance. It might be part of like, well, everybody's eating it, so I should eat it too. And are you known for eating certain food or not eating certain food? So how does food become part of who you are? And we're going to look at that based on different research things. So we're going to start out with rats. And so we learn about food from our parents. And it's been some interesting studies about that the food that your mom eats, it actually goes through the placenta wall, and it influences, do you like something or not? At least that's what some of the research says. And so what your mom ate, that's going to influence the things that you might enjoy or might not enjoy. And then as we are born, watching our parents and what our parents give us help us to know whether food's safe. And so we're all born with like this, ooh, should I eat this or not? And that's actually part of our survival. Like, we shouldn't eat certain things because it will be unsafe and potentially kill us. And so we learn about that from our parents. And so there's this interesting study about rats. And so rats, baby rats will sniff the mother's mouth to say, can I eat this or not? This food smells like your breath, so I must be able to eat this. Or maybe I shouldn't eat this because I have not smelled this in your breath. Now, I don't know that we necessarily go up to your mom, your parents, and smell their breaths anymore to say, should we eat that or not? That might be kind of gross. But we learn early on about that, about what we should and shouldn't eat by what our parents do. And then we also bring some of that along with us as we continue to age and move. Now, that doesn't stick with us forever, because as we age, and so close to the age that you are, you start to become independent. That's part of your identity now, part of your, in some cases, that conformity or resistance. And you start to pick your own food. You've learned what's good and what's bad. You've hopefully figured out like certain food are poisonous, don't eat that. But as you grow and as you develop, you start to say, I think I'm gonna have my own identity. So maybe some of you eat very differently than what your parents did. Or maybe you conform, you really like that. But I guess what I'm saying is it's not what your parents ate does not mean that's what you're gonna eat forever. You're at this time of exploration now. And then we have our personality and how does food might fit our personality. So I do a lot of work with personality types, but I have to say, in preparing for this, I expanded my understanding of personality as it relates to food. And I thought it was pretty interesting. So I thought, I'll share this with you. So what kind of personality, or how does what you eat, what you like to eat, how might that potentially be linked to your personality? And there's some research about this. This isn't just from a blog that is like, oh, well, I think this. There's a little bit of research with this. And so some of the research says about a sweet tooth. So we'll ask you later, do you have a sweet tooth? Are you someone who would enjoy dessert more than dinner? Is something sweet something that you really crave all the time? Well, actually, some of that might be genetic. And then based on that, there's also some association with personality. Now, you can agree with this or not, it might fit or not. Whenever we look at data, it doesn't always fit, but in 2012, Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that people who liked sweets more than the others tend to be more agreeable and compassionate. And so there's always an upside and there's a downside. They also might be vulnerable or more emotional. Does that fit you? Next, you like spice. So there's a thought that those who prefer hot, spicy food, and that's relative to where you live. So I live in the Midwest. We don't eat as much hot, spicy food as we do in other parts of the country. And so relative to kind of your region, in 2003, the Institute of Food Technologists associated spice with willingness to take risks. And people who enjoy a lot of spicy food might be thought of as more adventurous. And people who like exotic food tend to be more easygoing or willing to try things. Does that fit you? And then there's salt. And so if you're somebody who just craves salt and wants salt everything, there's some research that says that you might be more ambitious and motivated. And then there's this whole notion of super tasters. And I'll talk about that in a moment. And super tasters, there's 1 in 4 in the world of super tasters, and they have more taste buds on their tongue. And that taste buds are more sensitive to bitter, more sensitive to spicy and sour, but they enjoy saltier food. And so there's a relationship with that. And what does that mean? So part of our food aversion is also based on our taste buds. And genetically, how many taste buds do we have in a concentrated area of our tongue? We also learn not to like things, but it's easier actually to learn to like a food versus getting over an aversion if the aversion is based on your taste buds that you're given at birth. So this is a project for later. If you want, take a screenshot of this. This is to test, are you a super taster? Are you someone who has a high concentration of taste buds on your tongue? And so what they ask you to do, I'll quickly describe it, is you need some blue food coloring if you have it, and a cotton swab or like a Q-tip or something like that. And you put blue food coloring on your tongue, and then you take a piece of paper, like with a hole punch in it or a small circle, and a flashlight, or you can take a picture with your phone, and then count the number of buds in your tongue in that circle. And that indicates if you have a lot of them, you are more of a super taster. If you don't, then you may enjoy more spicy food, more sweet food, things of that nature. I don't know, it's an interesting experiment, and I encourage you to try. I'd love to hear the results of that. Some other things about food, and this is part of kind of how we grew up and what you like. So we're hardwired, more research says we're hardwired to like sweet and sour and salty, but smells are learned, and smells produce memories, not taste. So when you smell something, that's what instantly takes you to a memory. So think about foods that automatically bring you to memories. So for me, chocolate chip cookies are my memory of my grandmother, because I would go to her house for lunch and she would always make chocolate chip cookies and send me with a little bag of chocolate chip cookies for my way back to school. And that was like my, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna make it through the rest of the day. And so that was my comfort from my grandma. But chocolate chip cookies take me right back to my grandma. And so our memories, that smell is part of our history of what we like and what we don't like. There's also some smells that are not so great that are part of my memories too. And when my grandmother, my great grandmother that I lived with, almost burned down our house making fried liver. So smelling fried liver is a horrible memory for me right now. And I don't really like fried liver as a result of that, I think, because it was a bad memory. So when we think about, oops, I'm sorry, I'm gonna change this because we're gonna go back to this, but I wanna do some group work first, hang on. So bring out your phones again. And I'm going to give you some data also as we go through this. So think about your household. Who is the primary cook? Yeah. All right. So your data actually might not fit some of the global data. So in the US, at least, no, I shouldn't say that. So when we look at this across the board, what we see is that for the most part, women are the cooks. And so being a cook, or excuse me, our culture helps say if you cook or not. And so I see a lot of women on this list: moms, grandmas, stepmoms, sisters, grandmoms, me and my mom. So women tend to be the primary cook in about 70%. Men, it's about 30. However, that changes when men gain education in the US. So in the US, as men gain education, so less than a college education or less than a high school education means less cooking. As one continues to gain education, there's a correlation to cooking. And for men, cooking tends to be associated with affluence. And so men who cook tend to be more affluent. Men who cook tend to have more education. And some of that's been attributed to shows, TV shows about cooking, and oftentimes, and in the cooking industry, men tend to be the chefs. And so there's a link there, which is really interesting, considering for the most part, around the globe, women are the cooks. Women also procure things. What's also interesting is that cooking also helps influence, let's see, what do I want to say? So who cooks, that if you cook or not, isn't necessarily associated with health. And so just because I'm cooking does not mean I'm cooking healthy things. It means that I'm cooking. And so there's not necessarily a correlation. What is interesting also is that in France and in England, and there's a couple people in France and England, the relationship of men and education is not there. And so culturally, men cooking is not related to education. So just some interesting things. I'll give you tidbits with that. We're also going to have some about where else do you get your food. So the dog cooks, that's pretty awesome. In my house, I will tell you that I'm the primary cook. My son, you saw a picture of my son. When he lived with me, he loved to cook. And in his household with his significant other, he is the cook. There's no doubt he is the cook. Growing up, this is my story about growing up, or about learning about cooking. So when I first got married, I thought that in order to be a good wife, I needed to cook. And so that was a mark of a good wife, was to cook. And so I remember, and if you preserved food, that was even a better wife. And so I remember one night staying up really late and preserving pears and making jam out of it. And I got up in the morning and presented that to my husband and said, "Here, I made you this." And he was like, "Great, I don't really like that at all." And so there's this whole cultural thing about what makes you good and bad based on cooking and based on food. So think about, how does cooking relate to your role or who you are? Now, let's look at the way you prefer to eat. So when you order, do you tend to share food with others at the table? Do you order like family style, or do you tend to order for yourself? This is my meal and I'm going to order my own dish. How comfortable are you with using chopsticks? And what time would you eat? So let's put 9 o'clock on the, or after, on the strongly agree, and earlier in the day on the less strongly agree. All right. So looks like for the most, we have kind of a mix here. 22 of you are like, no, I like my own food. And 25 of you, 50 of you, let's say, are closer to the I share. And so different parts of the world based on culture, it is part of a community to share, and that it would be rude to order your own meal, where in some places of the world, to order your own meal and to have somebody pick off of your plate or to share that would also be seen as rude. And so in the US, we tend to do more of the I order my own meal, because we tend to value and have more of that independence value, whereas more of that collective. So in parts of Europe, specifically in parts of Asia, we tend to see more of the, of course, I would order for the whole group, and we would share and eat out of that common bowl. Just the notion of chopsticks, again, how we eat. Do we eat with spoon and fork? Do we eat primarily with our hands? Do we eat primarily with chopsticks? Helps share something about our culture, about about who we are. So I lead a group to China every year, and so also understanding different cultures and being respectful of that as we are in a global world can be something to consider. Right now I have a woman living with us from South Korea, and so what does that mean as far as cooking and eating? So we tend to use more chopsticks in our house. And then eating, at what time do we eat? US tends to eat more at that 5, 6 o'clock time period. My grandfather used to say, well, it's 5 o'clock, it's time to eat. Didn't matter if he was hungry or not, it was 5 o'clock, it was time to eat. Spent some time in Greece, and at 10 o'clock, midnight, that's when we had dinner. And I remember for the first time, like, ooh, I'm in bed by then. And what does that mean? So how does all of these influence who we are and how we view food? All right, so this goes back to that survey. Where do you fall on this? I guess this doesn't tell me. Oops. Sorry about that. How did I lose it? Can you still see the Mentimeter? Can somebody help me with that?
No.
No. Okay, so sorry. There you go. All right. So more people salty, about this, actually more people sweet, then salty, then spicy. And this doesn't tell me the numbers. This is my first time using that one. Can you see it now, the Mentimeter?
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so rate your favorite food based on this. This one's going to take just a moment to do. All right, so we're kind of constant here with this. Okay, so what do we know about this? So in the globe, the top rankings from the globe, from a global perspective, number 1 is pasta. Number 2 is meat, which is number 6 here. Meat is generic as far as kind of all-inclusive. And number 3 is rice. So pasta, meat, and rice. In the US, the number 1 is pizza, number 2 is steak, and number 3 is chicken. So depending upon where you're at, what's a common food to serve? What's a common food that you would see? And how does that change in the world? Part of that's availability, part of that's public media, and then that acquired taste, because we pass it down through generations. Now, pizza is an interesting one because in the world, as we look at pizza or pasta or any one of these, we would make it very different. And so chicken, would you prefer to have it fried, grilled, barbecued, pulled? How would you prefer to have it? And that's more regionally based. Same is true for rice, white rice, brown rice, fried rice, sauteed rice. How would you prefer to have it? And so all of these are also then based on where we live and our background and our culture. All right, so this is the aversion. What do you dislike the most? You can put a few of them in. Wow, there's a lot of stuff you guys don't like, but it's so different. There's not a lot of consistency. Now, what we know about food and dislikes, some of it's based on our taste buds. Some of us, literally, it will taste bad. So my sister cannot eat cilantro. It actually has a chemical reaction and it tastes like metal to her. And there is some notice with that. My daughter actually has a reaction to citrus. And so she can't eat that. And that's one that's been growing. I actually, I used to primarily eat dairy. I actually still like dairy, but my body can't tolerate it. So some of this might be chemistry, and then some of it's based on texture. So some of us don't like food, not because of how it tastes, but the texture of it. So one of the things that I dislike the most is duck brain. And so I've had the opportunity to eat it often, and it's a texture thing. I actually don't mind the taste, but it causes a gag reaction for me with the texture. And so we also know that texture is something beyond just the taste. And part of that is learned, and part of that is also a genetic. Wow, so fun to see all the different things that you guys don't like. The question is, could you learn to like it, or is there a reason you don't like it? And there's probably a story that goes along with that. And so I'm going to ask you to share those stories in just a little bit about what's the story that goes along with that. Yeah, mealworms are not one of my favorite, as I saw in there. Okay, what's your favorite fast food restaurant? So my guess is as you're seeing this, some of you are like, I've never heard of a Culver's, because Culver's is I think it started in Wisconsin. And so it's not one that's nationwide. McDonald's tends to be globally, and also then adapts to the local cuisine. So what we know about fast food restaurants is it tends to have a local flair to it. And fast food tells more about a location than some of the other food restaurants that we tend to go to. Now the question is there one on there that you're like, wow, I want to know what that is, and what they serve there? Because there's definitely some on there I don't know. I'm also not a fast food kind of person, so. Awesome. How many of those have you tried? Which ones do you like? Which ones don't you like? Why? And what does this say about our food? All right, I'm gonna move on. We could keep going with this one. Wow. All right, question. How likely would you be able to try these flavors of ice cream?
Kelly, just giving you the 15-minute warning.
Sounds good, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so what do we know about ice cream? So I looked at a website on most favorite ice creams around the world. And so it's a website that you can look at. And what it said is globally, the most popular is vanilla. And in the US, the most popular is vanilla. And so we see here that a large percent of you would say yes to vanilla. Only a few of you are like, nah, that's gross, keep it away. The fig and the date comes from Greece, and it's one of the more popular ones in Greece. Purple yam, not so many of you were too interested in the fig and date and purple yam. That comes from the Philippines. The matcha or the green tea is popular in Japan, and it's actually becoming more popular around the world also. The caramel is originated in New Zealand and is popular in Australia and is also then transported around the world. The toffee, the hokey pokey, is we tend to see in China, in Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Indonesia. And the red, oh, I'm so sorry, I said that wrong. I totally messed that up. The toffee is from New Zealand and Australia. And the red bean is from China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, and Indonesia. So different tastes, different places. And how do we learn to like that? Sometimes it's just exposure. All right, so when we talked about memories, we also have our holidays. And so what's the food that you eat? What's the holiday and what's the food that you eat with that? So my story with this is on New Year's, we have a special food. And it comes from my heritage. So my grandmother was more Scandinavian, and so for her, we ate pickled herring on a cracker. And so at New Year's, you would eat pickled herring on a cracker. And then my other side of my family, they're more from Germany, and raw beef is what we would eat on a piece of rye bread. Now you need to know, I don't eat red meat. I haven't for 25 years. However, on New Year's, to honor my heritage, that is the one time I eat red meat, and of all things, I eat raw beef on a piece of cracker. And it's because it's part of that history, that memory, and holidays say a lot about who we are. So a lot of Thanksgivings. I asked my daughter, and she's like, Thanksgiving, and and stuffing was hers. Whoops, I lost that. Sorry about that. Go on. Oh, it must be the way I'm doing this. All right. Last one is, what's your home food, your comfort food, the thing that you're going to eat when you just need to eat something that's going to make you feel good? My daughter grew up with a caregiver who was from Burma, Myanmar. And so for her, her comfort food is noodles with fish sauce on it, because that's what she was given as a child from her caregiver, our good friends. And so this is oftentimes, again, what we learn early on from people we trust. Again, a mix of all different things. I am going to switch here. Let's see. And what I'd like to have you do is, we're going to go for the last 10 minutes into your groups again. And what I'd like you to do is share your name again, and then share something about your home food, or share something about this wheel, and how food helps describe you. We're not going to be able to report back out to the group because the way that we were configured, so I put that up there before how we got configured. But just go around and share a story about food and who you are. Stuart, can you put them back into their groups?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
1 second.
And we'll bring you back within the next 10 minutes.
Hi, everybody. People who are joining the main room again. Did you get kicked out of your breakout rooms, or did you finish the conversation already?
I joined out of my Mac finally because it wasn't working before, and I just haven't gotten a chance to join back into my group yet. Can you put me into group 15, please?
Yeah, same situation.
I joined late
Yeah,
and I
same.
wasn't able to get to my group.
Thank you.
I never got an invitation to a breakout room.
Yeah, me neither.
I got an
So the
invitation.
people who are here, if you
Got
want to chat Stuart to go into your group, but otherwise we can just do this with us. So what's a story? What about food? What do you know? I shared some of my stories. Who can share? Who are you and what food do you like and why?
Oh, I'm Tofu from Nigeria.
Hi. What's your favorite
I hope
food?
that would be rice. It's like that's basically what I grew up eating. But I'm open to try new cuisines. I'm open to like different dishes, continental and intercontinental.
Nice.
And I guess. Thank you.
What's a food
That's
you'd
my-
want to try?
Sushi maybe.
That's great. For me, that
Yeah.
if I could only eat one thing, that would be what I would eat. There's only one thing I could eat in the world. So
And what's
that's
that?
great. Sushi.
Sushi.
Who else?
I'm one of the facilitators at World Affairs this year. I'm Sam, I'm from England. So typically one of my favorite meals is a roast dinner, which we have on most Sundays, and it's similar to your Thanksgiving meal. So we'll roast a whole chicken, and we'll have lots of roast vegetables with Yorkshire puddings, and they are slightly like dumplings, but fluffier, and they're shaped like a shell, and you usually fill them with gravy and kind of dip your chicken and your roast vegetables in them.
That sounds awesome. Paul, what do you like? Oh, can you hear me? Who else? Yes. Go ahead, whoever wants to go next.
Hi, my name is Vishini and I'm from Nepal. So I like anything spicy. Like I really do like spicy. I can like eat up to any spices, I think. Yeah. And yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. I admire that. Who
What's
else
the
can share?
spiciest food you've eaten?
I'm actually half Thai, so Thai food are spicy. Like they tend to be spicy. So have you ever heard about tom yum soup, or have you ever heard about som tam? It's like it could go to any spices. So that's the spiciest thing I've ever heard. I've ever ate. It's papaya salad. Yeah, basically. It's really spicy.
Does it make your whole body feel spicy?
For me, there are different type of people who can like how they express how spicy it is. Like for some they sweat, for some they like get red. For me, I don't know, my face starts getting really red when it's too spicy for me. So that's it. Yeah. But that is really spicy. That food is really spicy.
That's great. Who else can share? Thank you.
Hi, I'm Samriddhi from Nepal, and I like home cooked meals like rice and pulses, and like same as her, I really like spicy foods. And I'm like a Newar, a community from Nepal, and they're known to have like the most spicy food. So I really love spicy foods, like everything. Yeah, that's it.
That's great. Thank you. Who else? Share where you're from, what you like.
Hello, I'm Sneha and I'm also from Nepal. I more often say people that I love spicy food, but my taste goes according to my mood. If I'm happy, I love eating desserts and then juice. But then if I'm like a bit grumpy or I'm off my mood, then I prefer eating spices and making my face red. So yeah, I more prefer my food according to my mood.
I love that. That is so great. Love how it changes. Who else? We have a few more minutes to share, please.
Do you guys have any questions about what food in England is like? You can ask away.
Colette?
What is like
Oh, go
your
ahead.
basic
go ahead.
meal in England?
Sorry, what was that?
What is your basic meal in England? I was like,
So it's really, in England, we usually have a different meal every day. So we still have things like burgers and barbecues, or grill outs, as you call it over there, pizza. But a typical food in England that we'd have for fast food is fish and chips. So it's these really thick fries that are all cooked together in a lot of batter, and then fish, but they've got the batter around them. So they're like massive chicken nuggets, but fish.
And then do you put them with vinegar on it? Do you
A
like
lot
it
of
with
salt
vinegar?
and a lot of vinegar. And then mushy peas is what most people, I don't like them, but my mum loves them.
Can you handle spices there? I heard most people cannot handle spices in like countries there. Like outside Asia, people are not good with spices.
I think a lot of people from my country don't like spice. And then things that we would say are spicy are probably not spicy to you. So we would think, oh, that's really
Yes.
hot. And there's a lot of things labeled in our supermarkets on the shelves that say hot or really spicy on them. And I find them okay, but other people can't handle them. And I can imagine they would be like water to you.
Welcome everybody back. So in the group here, we were talking about spice and do we like spice and what kind of spice and why we do or don't, and some of our other favorite foods. I hope that you all got to spend just a little bit of time thinking about what you eat, why you eat it, how it relates to who you are and your family and where you grew up, your personality. I love somebody said, yeah, depending upon my mood, that changes what I want to eat. As you journey this week, you'll learn more about food, where it's available, how it's made, what does it mean for society. But I hope that starting off today, you start thinking about who you are in relationship to this, because who you are in relationship to all of this allows you to start thinking about, what does this mean to me? Where am I going to grow? Where are the things that are going to challenge me to think, to maybe explore new ideas? And I hope that through your time connecting with each other, you can build those relationships, because it's really through this global community, through your generation, that global changes are going to be made. I am so excited that you are all together this week, learning from each other, challenging each other, understanding different perspectives, especially in this time of COVID, especially in this time when there's a lot of people dividing versus bringing together. And so I think you are just a model of coming together to solve issues, to solve problems, to be leaders. You are the leaders who are going to help make those changes that we so desperately need. And understanding who you are in that and what do you bring to the table, you all bring something. And you bring something important by who you are and the lens you look through. And so please have courage to share that, because without that, we're not all going to grow. So I wish you the best of this week. I will leave my contact if you want to link in with me. If you do that, I love linking in across the world. And it would be great. So my LinkedIn is Kelly Ottman. If you do WeChat, it's also Kelly Ottman. And if you do Gmail, it's also Kelly Ottman. So that's all you need is Kelly Ottman, and you should get it any one of those. So thank you so very much.
Perfect. Thank you, Kelly. If everybody can, at least virtually or with their with their hands on their reactions on Zoom. Give Kelly your applause as thanks. Yeah, thank you everybody. And thanks for tuning in to this first session. In just a few minutes, or actually now, I'm gonna send in the chat the link to the guidebook website. That's where you'll find the links on Zoom to our next sessions. I see a lot of chat going on, so make sure you catch my link before it disappears. But in just a few minutes, we'll go ahead and switch over to your small group rooms. I understand everybody might need a quick break, so take a few moments to yourselves, and then we'll go ahead and get started in small groups momentarily. So thanks for joining, and we'll see everybody soon.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Those of you who are still on the line and asking, if you didn't receive a small group invite or a letter assignment, I apologize. However, you can select the small group in which you're going to join. If you didn't get a letter assignment, go ahead and go ahead and join the session that you choose. Just pick one of the 4 and stick with that one for the entire week. Thank you.